What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Moths from Puerto Rico. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to have you guys here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Very excited to be here for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
anytime, anytime. You're actually the first band from Puerto Rico that I'm interviewing on this channel, and it's really exciting because I definitely want to talk about the scene in San Juan and all over the place. So definitely saving that question for last. But we
To
do.
be fair, it's weird that we always get that same comment. You're the first band in Puerto Rico. Yeah.
I mean, I've interviewed a band from almost every state except for like three now. So I was expecting
Oh,
to.
you're almost completed the collection.
Yeah. I'm just feels good to check this off the list. The fact that I've interviewed bands from like Moldova and Andorra, which people can't even point on a map, says something.
No, I can't. I can for sure.
Yeah. But I do got to tell you, the new single that you have, Space Force, the title track of your debut album, is absolutely awesome, and it definitely makes me look forward to hearing more. Is that so
Thanks.
far maybe a clear representation of what the entirety of Space Force is going to sound like, or is that just scratching the surface from what we're going to be hearing?
Oh, I think that's just scratching the surface.
It's a roller coaster of an album for sure. Like
There's so much more.
there's a that I would say that song is probably one like the closest representation of what the band is about, like the overall band, what it's about. But at the
Yeah.
same time, there's other like the other songs have some traits that are really interesting, like and that we try to like venture and it's a but I believe it's really fun for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, being that this is the debut album, was there kind of like a preconceived idea of what you wanted this album to sound like? Was there a specific goal, or was there like a lot of experimentation and a lot of trial and error involved?
It was a mix of both actually. When we sat down, because most of these songs were written maybe what 5 years ago.
Yeah, like 2017. A lot of them were already done by it. Like I think we had Unbound, and I think we had the first song of the album that's called Broken. Whenever it comes out, you'll listen to it. That I think those two were already done, and then the next single that comes around, which is Awake, that one came in afterwards, like late 2018 to 2019. And by 20 no actually I'm lying, but like or mid 2019, by late 2019 2020, we already had the full album done. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
Space Force was I believe Space Force the song was mostly like it was probably the
Early
last one that
2019.
we
Yeah.
yeah, and the last
Because
one
we
we
took
wrote
it
for
we
this.
took it for the tour. I think we played it, didn't we?
Yeah, we did a 2019 tour. So yes,
Did we
we probably had that one.
Yeah, I think we had Space Force.
But yeah, I mean, it was more like the overall way that we made the concept of the album, how the songs are going to be, transitioning one from to each other. Where it was mostly a production, like we really thought about it, like we wanted to make it that way when we recorded the album. But as far as these songs themselves, no, we wrote songs and then somehow we made it work into like a one piece, one album, one collection of songs that make sense. Once everyone gets to hear the album.
Being that this is 5 years in the making, in a way, like that we're finally hearing this album, is what we're going to hear on this album how these songs were originally structured back in 2017, or through a course of time did they change a lot, the ideas or the messaging or the meanings?
I
It's
think until we started recording, there wasn't a final form of these songs. These songs, every time that we kind of came into like band practice, or kind of anytime that we just were mentioning like, yeah, let's play this song live. We didn't have like a structure for it, or well, we had a structure for it. We just didn't have like a solid form for it. By the time that we kind of just head into the studio, it was like, yeah, we're gonna do this. So there is a lot of change from like if somebody heard it all the way back in 2017, maybe what they hear even in the album, or hell, even live right now, is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we keep I think that's one of the most interesting things about the band itself, and personally one of the things I enjoy the most, the fact that we're still playing around them, with them. We played them live, and the way that we played them live is not necessarily the same way that we played in the album. So we just like to play around with it for sure.
Yeah, a lot of people always ask like, "Oh, what's the stoner aspect from this?" So like, "Oh, you guys don't do a lot of stoner things in the band." Well, we don't have a solid song. We're always like jamming over the song. Every time that we play it live, it's completely different. That's literally the most stoner band ever thing. Like Sleep doesn't even play the same song twice. They have the same name. They change the song.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because that was going to be another thing I brought up in this interview. The term stoner metal or stoner rock or whatever. Okay, I've gotten stoned listening to black metal. I've gotten stoned listening to Mariah Carey. Okay, to you, what needs to be in a song or an album or in a band that makes it qualified to be stoner? Because even the bands that are labeled that, like Baroness, sounds nothing like Sleep. And Sleep has its own distinct elements behind it as well. So like, to you, what defines stoner?
Anytime that I mention like, oh yeah, my band's stoner, because it's the first thing that I mention. Yeah, my band's a stoner band. Whenever I think of a stoner band, it's a mix of various things. It's like it's heavy music that either has a psychedelic part to it or kind of progressive music kind of tinges to it, which really psychedelic and progressive is kind of like they always kind of touch in little edges. That's kind of like the small little fun side of psychedelic and progressive. Okay, I just got a call for some reason. That's really the most interesting side of like progressive and psychedelic music, that it kind of like very intermingle very easily. And that's, to me, it's stoner. It's heavy music that's just either has a very unpredictable kind of sound to it. Whether you can smoke pot to it, that's completely up to you. You can smoke pot, as you said, Mariah Carey. You can smoke pot to Mariah Carey. You can smoke pot to like Barney. I don't know, but the most important thing is that you just listen to and have fun with it and get high with it. Why not?
Yeah,
I think riffs.
Riffs for sure.
Riffs are what makes stoner music stoner, and whatever that may be. It could be literally from stoner metal to black metal. I think also the fact that in this particular album, I think the stoner aspect gets a little bit heightened with the synths, the use of synths, which were recorded by our friend Christian. He's amazing. He did a great work, and I think that also like amplifies the whole vibe to kind of like sit down, smoke a joint, and relax and just listen to the music.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when I listen to like the structure of the music, I always like to compare bands to others, but like when you Google stoner metal, one of the bands it recommends is Black Sabbath. And while I'm sure all those guys were stoned back then when writing those songs, they were not thinking of calling themselves stoner metal. But like,
no.
Yeah.
I won't bet.
Yeah. But one band that I actually compare you with in terms of the structures and the experimentation, because you bring in the riffs, but you also have the synths and all these different elements. And I think it would be a great tour, is the band Thank You Scientist. They kind of remind me a little bit of you guys.
This guy. Yeah, you got it.
What, did I say the magic word?
I think I'm the bigger, well, between me and Omar, we're the more math rock kind of guys. Thank You Science is more into that idea of kind of like math rock. Yeah, like there's kind of a very technical side to the music, but at the same time, it's still rock. You still get these kind of dissonant, very crazy, fast-paced licks and riffs and.
I've always called them a ska band for prog fans.
Yeah. They have, whatever. They have the necessary requirements for a ska band. All they really need is to just kind of pick it up. Yeah, get it.
Do a guest with Gwen Stefani.
But yeah, like between Omar and me, we're kind of like the more math rock guys. I listen to a lot of Thank You Scientist, actually. For Omar, I know that he likes them, but I don't think he listens to it that much. I know Wesley doesn't like the vocals in Thank You Scientist.
Yeah, that's the thing about the band. We kind of like, and it's funny that you mentioned Thank You Scientist, because that's another band that we add into the vast list of bands that we've been compared to. And we've been compared to from like bands from like Gojira for some reason, all the way to Pearl Jam. So we've gotten this is another one that we get.
Somebody said Radiohead once, and I thought that's cool. I get it. I like it.
We've been getting so many different comparisons, which is kind of cool, because at the same time, it's like, maybe that's something that can approach different audiences. in a wide spectrum of the stuff that we're doing, right?
100%. Because when I listen to you guys, I could see you do a tour with like a Gojira or a Thank You Scientist, or if they were still around, like a Dillinger Escape Plan or something like that,
Yeah.
or like a Car Bomb. And when you guys play live, like when you've done your tours and stuff, have you noticed maybe kind of like a diverse audience? Like, have you seen like different I'd imagine you're seeing Iron Maiden shirts, but you're also seeing a bunch of, plenty of other shirts with those unreadable logos.
It's really funny that you say that, because we were just mentioning that the metal scene here is so diverse. It's just like insane. uh we were mentioning how like a lot of normally in the shows in the United States, they're kind of structured by like the genre they're playing. So metal, everybody plays metal. Hardcore, everybody plays hardcore. Punk, everybody plays punk, whatever. And here it's kind of like, oh man, I want a punk band to open up for us. Fuck it. And it's like, yep, there's a punk band, or there's like a regular rock band. Something like we had like a what do you call Todos Animales? Like an indie band, was it? Todos Animales, right, Wes?
Yeah, we had a show in March where there was like a jazz experimental band opening the show, and then after them there was like a indie funk trap band, and then us closing the show, and everyone enjoyed and like you said, there were people with Iron Maiden t-shirts, but there were also like people that you would not think that would listen to rock at all, and they all had a good time. So yeah, that's something that's we've been seeing a lot, and also I'd like to say that not sure. I'm pretty sure that the fact that we have a female vocalist definitely helps. So we've been seeing a big increase in female attendance in shows, which is something really cool, because we also want to make sure that women feel safe in metal shows, particularly here on the island. So that combined with the different stuff that we do musically, it brings out a really interesting and fun crowd for sure.
Yeah, I think a great tour for you guys would be a tour, now that you mentioned that, is a tour with Lucifer from Sweden. I think that would be a great tour with a similar message, and that definitely will get a lot of people high just from attending it, whether you smoke it or not.
Contact
sure.
high, just a contact high.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. In terms of actually the vocals and the lyrics, though, in a way, has Moth's music or any of the songs ever been conceptually driven, where maybe like a lyrical idea or a concept helped dictate the sound that you were trying to achieve?
So for this song, for the title track of the album, Space Force, I remember that once we started writing the song, we were just joking around. We also, like pretty much every other band out there, we make the title track of the song, like the track of the name of the song is like a random name. So for this one, we came up like, this song is going to be called Space Force. And then we just kind of went with the whole concept of it. Like, you know what? Let's just keep the name Space Force and make everything around it.
I think this is the only song that stuck with that, because every song has like, if you ever get like one of our set lists, we have the name of our songs, but then under that we have another like random name, and that's the original name of the song, and that's the name that we say like, oh yeah, let's play this one. And it's like, we know what it is, but if somebody comes into like anytime that we're rehearsing, it's like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? It's like, I've heard this song never in my life.
So yeah, we kept the Space Force, and then after that, Damaris sat down and wrote the lyrics, which it's basically a satire to everything. Like when Trump announced that Space Force was going to happen, and she actually sat down, watched the speech. There's a few lines that he said in that speech that are part of the lyrics.
Yeah, it's verbatim.
And then we sat down. Once we sat with Chris to do the synths, one of the things that we told him is like, the album itself it's not a conceptual album, but the fact that it's space related and somehow the name of the album is going to be Space Force, we want those spacey synths to be around the album, and particularly have even more so in the track. So that's as conceptual as we've gone so far with our music, particularly in this song. And I think it came out pretty cool. Like I believe it's really fun stuff to kind of pick up and listen to these little details happening.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a difference between an album being a concept album and an album being conceptual. I think you definitely have
Hmm.
this sort of universal theme surrounding this album. And being that you have such a diverse fan base and you've played the diverse shows, I think it's fair to say you'll get a diverse conclusions of, or diverse interpretations of what this album is supposed to be like, right? It's not like you're trying to convey a
Yeah.
certain message or trying to get the audience to see it in a certain way. This album is fully open to interpretation, right?
And I think that's the most fun part of it, like getting to know people's opinion about it and be completely different to one to another. It's that's the fun part of it. And I don't know, we just don't really make a lot of stuff on purpose, like as far as, because we believe that kind of that probably limits our creativity around the music. So we just go with it. And the fact that, I have to say, I'm personally sometimes a little bit insecure about the stuff that we do. Like I enjoy it. I really do like it, but is people going to get it? Are people going to get it? Are they gonna like enjoy it? And so far they have, and it's very rewarding and very interesting to see their reaction to it. So pretty exciting stuff for sure.
And the final question I wanted to ask you is kind of dating back to the scene. You guys are from San Juan, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in
Yep.
terms of like a lot of times, I would hear people say like it's very hard to get out of a scene. Sometimes, you're kind of like trapped. And being that Puerto Rico does seem relatively isolated compared to the other states, is that make it, if you don't mind me asking, maybe kind of like a different type of obstacle to sort of spread the name out there a little bit more? Would you say that
It definitely is.
geography is also something that plays a role in breaking out of your scene?
It definitely is a factor when it comes out to like getting out or making it out into the whole wide world. Uh, the fact that it it's weird because you see these guys who, like, for example, look at a guy like Pat Bunny, right? Became famous, worldwide phenomena, doing music all over the world. But then, for you don't hear that about like metal bands, which we do have a lot of metal bands, and we have a lot of quality metal bands. The issue mainly here is the fact that there isn't a lot of channels for metal bands to kind of like just branch out and go into the states. It's a lot of just manpower and well, own manpower. So for example, it has to be us. We have to make sure that we get out from here. We have to make sure that we can find some venues to play out in the states, etc. The same way that we found when we went on tour on 2019. We went because Wesley was the one who was going like, hey, can we play a show? You got any shows for us? Anything that we can play? We can headline, stuff like that. There's nobody really scouting the area essentially. So it is geography wise, it is a problem. Plus, it also means that you have to pay plane tickets. You can't just rent a band and drive across the ocean, That really sucks, So, you have to buy a plane ticket, arrive there, kind of rent equipment because, you have to rent your backline. I can maybe bring my head, but, a lot of good that'll do for you in the States, right? So yeah, it's a big barrier for sure, but can get through it.
I've always
I
wondered.
think.
Oh, you were saying?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I've wondered how bands like Tyr, for example, who's from the Faroe Islands, managed to like escape, like, or not escape. That's dramatic, but like kind of break that out in a way. Is there like a strategy behind that?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I was going to say that during the history of the metal scene over here in Puerto Rico, that dates all the way back to the late '80s. The main issue has been particularly the fact where we are, where we're an island and we have to go out, and that added cost to the whole process, not only the whole production, recording and actually reproducing the album yourself, but also the fact that, like any band out there, you need to tour to promote the album. So you need to, like Jonathan said, you need to travel. That's the biggest thing, I think in a way, the fact that globalization and the internet definitely helps, because stuff like this particular interview is happening because of the internet, because that whole aspect, which probably bands in the 90s and the early 2000s did not have that chance to do. And like I said, and like Jonathan said, we've had really good bands throughout our whole history. So I think that's the most difficult thing for sure. I think the most important thing for us right now is the scene. and as a band from the island, is making sure that, if we get at least one band to make noise out there, and kind of like Jonathan said, bring people to take attention to the stuff that's happening in the island, like it happened in Brazil when Sepultura and all that Brazilian wave of bands started happening. If we somehow get that to happen, a lot of people in the Puerto Rican metal scene in general will, I assure you, that will blow up, because like Jonathan said as well, there's a lot of really good bands out here. So, it's tough, and that's the business, but at the same time, we can just yeah.
I was in San Juan in 2009. That was the last time I was there. I do gotta say, play a metal show at El Moro. Just like hijack.
Yeah, here is a problem with that. Ain't nobody gonna give us the permissions for that. Nobody's gonna give us permission to play it.
And then you unleash your punk rock roots, and you just do it anyway. You just do it anyway.
It.
Like
Johnny played a concert there like 4 years ago.
Yeah, and everyone fell asleep. They fell asleep there. They're still there sleeping to this day.
I want you guys. No, you guys need to play a metal show at El Moro and put pyrotechnics right underneath that cannonball display that they have there.
That would be a great.
If that ever happens, I'd be sick.
Yeah,
because that is one way to get your band name out there. This band is so good, they brought back cannonballs, and like tie your album to the cannonball, so if they land in the States, people will be able to pick that up. I mean,
we'll just buy a tiny one. We'll do like we're like mini AC/DC with a tiny cannonball. Just
hey, if your album came crashing through my window, I'd be like, fuck yeah. So but,
we'll put it as part of the list for the future for sure.
Definitely, just some production ideas.
Things to do. Yeah, just things to do. Put other things to do. Okay.
So before we go, I want to thank you both so much for your time and for such an awesome and fun conversation. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote with Moths in terms of tours? I know that the album is coming out August 12th. Is there just anything else you'd like to plug or shout outs you'd like to give?
For sure, yeah. First of all, I would like to thank you for this opportunity and for interviewing us. Definitely a fun conversation. For everyone out there, we appreciate all of your support. We appreciate all the really cool feedback that we've been getting for all the songs that we've released so far. The album does come out on August 12th. We have pre-orders running on Bandcamp. We will continue accepting orders via Bandcamp. And, we don't have any U.S. tours, scheduled for the moment, but that's one of the priorities that we're going to take into consideration coming 2023. So just, follow us on all social media. We're everywhere. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter.
Yeah.
Feel free to reach out. We are very open on talking to anyone. And we would just like to know what you think about it. Just feel free to reach out, and we'll be.
And if you got any plans in Puerto Rico, I don't know, the week of August 12th, maybe you should go Saturday to our show. Or if you're in Argentina on September
10th.
The 10th. On September the 10th, maybe you should go to the Heresy Fest where we are playing.
We're playing Argentina. We're
headlining, by the way.
That sounds awesome. And I've heard amazing things about heavy metal in Buenos Aires as well. So
yes, we're very excited about that, particularly because of that, because we know that they're very passionate down there. So very excited about it.
100%. Well, thank you guys so much, everybody. We are here with Moths, Space Force, coming out August 12th. Be sure to pick that up. We will see you next time on Heavy New York.